Hi, in this video we are going to discuss about ngSwitch directive. So ngSwitch directive is very much similar to switch statement in any other programming language. The only difference between Angular, ngSwitch or other programming language switch, in Angular we are rendering some HTML instead of some logic in other programming language. We have to use ngSwitch when we gonna compare different value if that value are more than 2. If the value is only particularly 2, we can use that ngSwitch statement. So let me move towards ngSwitch statements. So firstly the syntax. So syntax is ngSwitch, and then as if you are coming from any other programming language, you have learned about that there is some case and a default value. So how we describe that case in ngSwitch? So we are describing with star and ngSwitch case over here, and also the same thing we are going to do for the default thing, which is say ngSwitch default. So let move towards our programming. So we already have a project running, as you can see out this, and I'm creating one property. Say I'm using some language over here age, and I'm assigning it to a string. So we are using TypeScript, so I'm assigning the type say as a string over here and assigning the value as TypeScript over here. Let me save out this and move toward that HTML. As you can see, nothing is present in the HTML. Let me add one div tag, which is a container for all the switch statement. So I'm describing div over here, and inside the div I'm describing that it's a switch statement and it will compare the value of language. So let me copy out this thing and put this thing over here, and then we have to make the div for that switch case statement. So I'm describing as star and then ng switch statement over here, which is case, and then I'm assigning it to a string whatever it will going to compare. So let me put it. So we are using, say I'm putting that for a TypeScript. So here I'm describing as what we have to compare. So I'm comparing with the string. So inside these braces I'm using single quote, and then I'm assigning the value of TypeScript over here and paste it out this thing. So I am creating this for JavaScript as well. I'm creating this for TypeScript and JavaScript, and for Angular. Let me copy this out and paste this thing over here and paste this thing over here also. And here I'm using that JavaScript, so let me put it as JavaScript, and also here I'm putting a JavaScript over here, and instead of TypeScript in the last case I'm using that Angular over here, and here also that Angular. Let me save this thing, and if you go to the browser you can see we are using the TypeScript. If you go over here and change this thing to say whatever, say I'm changing to Angular. Let me save this out and go to the browser. As you can see we are using Angular. Let me inspect this thing and will show you. Let me put it in the side window for you. See over here it will show this statement is false, so that's why it's put in the comment and only show this div tag. If I change this thing, let me show you. If I change this thing JavaScript over here and say Java script over here, let me save this thing out, and if you go to the browser, see over here in the app root, in the div, inside this div you can see over here only the JavaScript div is enabled, else other div will be disabled. I am simply describing a string in this. You can describe whatever the logic or the template you want to use over here. So let me move towards the default functionality. So if I change the JavaScript to say whatever, say I'm putting that C# over here, and we don't have that case for C#. So if you go over here and you can see nothing, but you can see that our 3 switch statement is commented out because it's not comparing this value and it's in fall under the default condition where this thing is not. If you are coming from any other programming language, you already know this thing, that every switch case statement has some default functionality. So Angular also provides us default functionality for this. So for default functionality we have one more syntax, which is star and then ng switch default, and say I'm assigning please choose other programming language over here. Let me save this thing and move toward the browser. As you can see, I have changed nothing in the TypeScript. I have changed only the default functionality for ngSwitch. If you go to the browser, you can see please choose any other programming language. So that's how this default functionality will work. And if you change this to anything which is not particularly found in this case, so it will simply go to the default. Say I'm putting as Java, save this thing out and move to the browser. You can see over here, and let me show you it's rendering this thing. Yeah, see the value for this thing is Java. If I change this thing to particularly TypeScript and all this, it will going to manage this thing as a default value. And also one more thing, this switch statement is case sensitive. If I put that TypeScript in the lower case, so let me copy it out this thing and paste it down over here, and putting that TypeScript, save it out, it will not work. See over here, please choose any. It's strictly types. We have switch statement, and also if you want to compare this value, you can also compare the value here in ngSwitch, and you also have to define the property. So that's it all about that switch statement. In the coming video we are going to discuss about ngFor, which is we have to render multiple elements in the HTML. So thanks for watching this video. We'll see you in the next video.